You're listening to the Limitless Broadcasting Network.
What's your favorite scary movie?
What's the Boogeyman?
You hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish, understand? It's showtime.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the You Can't Kill the Boogeyman podcast. I'm your host, Robby.
And I'm Sammi.
And today we have a very special episode. I'm very excited about this episode. We're talking about one of my favorite horror movies. It's in the horror genre.
Yeah.
Has monsters in it. But we're talking about Monster Squad, The Monster Squad.
Yes.
So if you were a fan of this growing up, please let me know in the comments below. But I love watching this movie. I could watch it all year round. So
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a documentary, and we watched that last night.
Yeah, it was on our Blu-ray or DVD, whatever.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and it's also on Amazon Prime and I think like Pluto TV or something. It's on a couple places. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you wanted to watch it.
but yeah, you should check that out.
Yeah.
Wolfman has Nards. That's what it's called. So anyway,
Anything else you want to talk about before we dive in?
no, let's just dive in.
All right. So, the Monster Squad. All right, we have some fun taglines as always for the movie. So, the first one, the end of the world starts at midnight. Never send a man to do a kid's job. I really like that one. I think that's fun.
Yeah,
I think they use that one a lot. Every 100 years, the forces of darkness arise to challenge the forces of light for control of all mankind. This is the year. Tonight is the night. But this time, Dracula has bitten off more than he can chew. That's a very long tagline.
yeah, it is.
It's like a paragraph. That's a bit long. Call them for a monstrous good time. Get it?
Yeah,
Do you get the joke?
I get it.
Do you get the joke? Okay. And finally, you know who to call when you have ghosts. But who do you call when you have monsters?
I like that tagline too.
That's another one I saw in a couple different places too. I liked that one too. Thought that was fun. So our very, very brief summary is a young group of monster fanatics attempt to save their hometown from Count Dracula and his monsters.
Dum dum dum.
Which, yeah, that's
pretty accurate.
what they're doing in the movie. Yeah.
Yep.
It's rated PG-13 genre. It did fall under the horror category, so that's why it counts. We can watch it.
Yep.
Director Fred Decker, producer Neil A. Mackless, probably Mackless, and Jonathan A. Zimbert. Writers are Sean Black and the director Fred Decker. The cinematographer is Bradford May. And this one was released in theaters on August 14th, 1987.
Okay.
So I'm actually older than this
This movie.
Not by much, but briefly. Just a little bit. So it was a long time ago now that it came out. Its budget was an estimated $12 million, and
Wow.
its gross in the U.S. and Canada was about 3.8.
Oh man, so it didn't make its budget back.
Its opening weekend, it made 1.9 million.
So that's why we didn't get a sequel.
Yeah, and in the documentary, the director slash writer is actually talking about how this kind of like ruined his career for a little bit of time, and
Yeah.
nobody saw it, and you know, it just is one of those things. But this movie, I certainly think, has picked up like a cult following.
Yeah, very much so.
And those kids who didn't go see it in theaters necessarily watched it on TV. And I know we've already had some comments on social media where people are talking about, oh, I rented the videotape and I would go every weekend and rent it, or
Really?
I would watch the crap out of, the video that I had, on VHS.
Is that what they said? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
a couple of people have commented. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I have a feeling it picked up a lot after it was in theaters.
I feel like if it would have made its budget back, they would have done a sequel.
But the studios don't like that.
They don't like to lose money.
Even if it's a popular thing. So
yeah, I'm sure it's made its budget back now because of the cult following.
Exactly.
So.
And I know in the documentary too, some of the stars, maybe not all of them, but some of them were definitely talking about they didn't even know how popular the movie was as grown-ups, that they've gotten this following until they would go to like a con or whatever, and people would come up and say, oh my God, and give them the lines or talk about how much they love the movie, and then they started realizing how much of a following it actually had. So that's pretty cool.
I wish they would reboot it.
Yeah.
I bet
maybe
in today's genre, I bet that would work well.
There's a possibility.
We live in a genre of reboots, so why not try this again?
And nostalgia, so yeah.
Exactly. You have a lot of older people that grew up in this generation, and they would go out to the theaters and see it. Or it would be a good streaming movie.
For sure.
So you could have a lower budget, but do it for streaming.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think they should reboot it.
We'll see. You never know.
So, but it is one of my favorites. I look forward to it. I watch it all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a Halloween.
It doesn't, exactly. It doesn't even have to be Halloween. If we're looking for something that we want to watch and we can't figure it out, we'll just pop on Monster Squad. One of the many shows we'll pop on.
So this movie is an hour and 21 minutes long. And it was distributed by TriStar Pictures, who we decided is now Lionsgate owns them
Lionsgate
or whatever.
owns them.
So yeah. Camera, because again, I don't know anything about this, but the camera listed was a Panavision Panaflex Gold and Panavision E series lenses.
Okay.
Because this is the 80s, so it's not nothing digital or anything. Now, ratings wise, this movie has a 56% rating from critics on Rotten Tomato, 78% audience score on there, and a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb.
That's terrible. It should be up higher.
Well, what we have found doing our movie reviews, not just here, but on like the Pixie Dust Twins in particular, we're in the middle of our Harry Potter summer. And we are feeling like IMDb is always full of haters.
Yes.
They constantly love to go and just dog movies because they can and put their ratings and drive it down. So I never feel like IMDb has a true fair rating. I think Rotten Tomatoes, I don't really care about critics scores. I always share it just because I think it's interesting, but I always look at the audience score over there because I feel like sometimes it's a little bit more accurate. So there's a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes. I feel like people, when they go there, they're actually more realistic in their reviews.
Okay.
In my
78
opinion.
is pretty good.
Yeah. And I could see that's a kid's movie, so depending on when you watched it, and if you like horror
if you grew
stuff,
up with it, and if not, so that makes sense.
So there's a long list for cast, so we won't go all the way through it. But as far as the kids go, we have Andre Gower as Sean, who's the main kid. You really love him. We have Robby Kiger as Patrick. Stephen Mocked as Detective Del Crenshaw. Then we've got Duncan Rager as Count Dracula. I thought he did a really good job. So.
Yeah, the funny thing is Liam Neeson almost ended up being Dracula in this movie. Yeah,
they were gonna have him do it, and then
he ended up getting another job.
Duncan came in, and they were just like, "Oh, this guy is it." So I think they did a great decision there. As much as I love Liam Neeson, And then we've got Tom Noonan as Frankenstein's monster. Again, very good job.
Very good job.
Really loved him. And Brent Challam as Horace. And then we've got Ryan Lambert, who played Rudy, and Ashley Bank was Phoebe. And then Robbie's favorite character, Michael Faustino, was Eugene.
Yep.
Robby doesn't like Eugene. Robby thinks Eugene should have been cut out of the movie.
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, and then last actor I'll call out is Leonardo Samino as Scary German Guy. And it makes me laugh because he never actually gets a name. Like, that's what he's credited as, is just Scary German Guy.
Yeah? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I kept thinking there would be like a name pop up, even if we didn't really hear it in the movie. No, they just literally listed him Scary German Guy. So that is his official character name. So this movie was filmed at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles. So
Really?
yeah, they actually went and filmed near a museum or at the museum. They also filmed at Richland Avenue Elementary School, which is also in LA, Warner Brothers Burbank Studios, Columbia Warner Brothers Ranch, and then Universal Studios as well. Everything in California.
Spent a lot of money on locations.
Yeah, it probably was like a big chunk of the budget for sure. So I do have facts as usual for you. So some filming facts to start. According to the director, Fred Decker, Shane Black's first draft of the screenplay was so huge that the opening of the film featured Van Helsing accompanied by Zeppelins and hundreds of men on horseback storming Dracula's castle. So it was a much bigger beginning. Decker stated that this sequence would have cost more than the final budget of the film.
Wow.
So that's why that did not happen.
Wow.
Oh. And then going back to Liam Neeson, now this fact actually says that he was even paid for a bit part that was never shot. So I don't know what exactly, because I know in the documentary they were talking about they wanted him for Dracula. So
maybe they shot some test footage,
but it didn't
use it.
Didn't make it.
That happens.
And Andre and Robby were actually friends in real life before filming. So Gower, who's Andre, so that was Sean.
No, it's Sean.
Yeah. He actually campaigned the producers to hire his friend as the best friend role of Patrick. So I thought that was cute.
That's cool.
It's like, oh. And Seth Green screen tested for a role and even read with Andre, who was cast as Sean, as we said, and the two became good friends.
Really? I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Even though he was not in the movie. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we do have some horror movie references.
Of course we do.
There are some very obvious ones you probably noticed for sure that we'll be mentioning. So near the start of the movie, the plane where Dracula first appears has Browning written on the side, which is a nod to director Tad Browning, who directed Dracula in 1931.
I figured that.
Yeah. The Wolfman's face was modeled after that of Stan Winston.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And during the montage with the Monster Squad getting ready to stop Dracula, Sean points to where Shadowbrook Road is on the map to show his friend Patrick where the mansion Dracula is hiding out in is. On the other side of the map, it says Chaney College as a location. And this is an homage to actor Lon Chaney Jr., who played Lawrence Larry Talbot in Universal's The Wolfman. So another call out to classic character. And it has the same dead guys do not get up and walk away by themselves line, followed by a shot of a dead guy walking down the street. And that's the same as Night of the Creeps from 1986, which was also written and directed by Fred Decker. So reuse some of that. And there's a poster for The Return of the Living Dead from 1985 that's visible on the wall of the clubhouse. And another poster for the Lucio Fulci film Zombie from 1979, which is visible in the background of the clubhouse. And then besides that, if you guys didn't notice, the monsters are all homages to the Universal classic monsters.
Yes.
There's Frankenstein's monster, the Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Wolfman.
The Mummy.
And the Mummy.
Brides of Dracula.
And Dracula.
So,
they did not have the rights to use.
So that's why
Universal's monsters. So that's why they're very, very similar, but they do look slightly different from the classic Universal monster.
I think they actually look better.
I liked them. I mean,
especially the Wolfman. I really liked how he looked. Like, he actually looked like a real wolf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The way they sculpted his head was really well done. And Dracula was scary still. Like, he still was creepy. I liked the Mummy as well. I thought that they did a good job making that creepy. And then Frankenstein's monster, I mean, he didn't look exactly the same, but he looked enough and had the same sort of personality and everything. I thought it was
to
Good.
drive the point across that this is Frankenstein.
Like, you got it.
You
Yeah.
understood who he was
And
and
then
who he's trying to be.
the swamp monster just looked really cool too. So I thought they did a really great job. I liked
Yeah.
all those characters that they chose, and I'm glad that he was such a fan that he wanted to use the Universal monsters, because you don't really see that as much these days.
Yeah.
I know this is from the 80s, but it's very cool.
The only time you really see it nowadays is the Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, right.
That's about it.
I mean, and that was kind of the director / writer's point, is that he grew up watching these sort of movies and they were really important to him. And he was hoping to make a movie that would be really important as well, as far as like in the horror genre and scary for kids. And he did it, but just didn't really realize that he did accomplish that
Right.
until much later.
Right.
So we have some bad guy facts for you.
Okay.
We're not going to call them killers in this series because this is PG-13 and aimed at kids. So we don't really have kills.
Killers.
Yeah, like necessarily. So in 2006, Wizard magazine made a list of the 100 greatest villains of all time, and Dracula from this movie was ranked as number 30.
Really? Okay.
Yep, and it was because of Duncan's performance in the film. It was chosen over all other versions of Dracula. So it's
during the documentary, he was saying he wanted to make that character stand out or be different, and I think he accomplished that.
Yes,
And,
I agree.
I mean, look, it has a cult following now, so good job for him.
Yeah, and they actually said that his Dracula version is considered to be one of the best interpretations of the character that's been made. So
there are a lot of
kudos
Dracula
to
movies, so that's great for him.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's see. Okay, so due to licensing issues, like we were talking about, they had to be suggestive but not exact copies of the iconic monsters. So that was a big challenge, obviously, for the art department, for costuming, all of that, to kind of come up with similar but not exact copies, because they didn't have the licenses to use the exact images. So they could be very similar to like the creature in the Black Lagoon, the little swamp monster, but they couldn't do exactly what he looked like.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that was a big thing they were worried about, was like copyright infringement. And the brief scene where Frankenstein, they say Frankenstein, but it's Frankenstein's monster. So where Frankenstein's monster meets Phoebe playing by the water is obviously an homage to a similar but obviously way more tragic occurrence in the original Frankenstein film. So this way that the scene plays out in this film is more the way that Boris Karloff apparently wanted to do this scene in the 1931 original. So have you seen that, or do you know what happens?
I don't know what happened.
No. So the monster,
I'm assuming he killed the girl.
Most definitely kills the girl. Yes, he does not right off in the sunset with her. Yes, no, she is dead. So, and I think it's interesting that Karloff actually wanted to do a scene more like what they actually did. So I thought that's very cool that they were able to do that in this movie.
Well, I think Phoebe and Frankenstein's monster is kind of the soul of the movie.
Yeah, and they talked about that.
They
in the
kind
documentary
of built it up, and that was its own special thing.
Yeah, they called it like the heart of the movie, which I agree. When you have a lot of just nonsense going on, and a lot of boys, and they're just being boys, it was nice to have Phoebe in there, and then have her be the cute little heart, and then bond with the big scary monster. I thought that was really nice.
Well, Frankenstein got her into the monster club, because that's what she wanted to be in.
Can I be in the club now? It's so cute.
And then Frankenstein pushes him.
That was like the best part. The way he just looks at him and then he falls down. I love that.
So yeah, that's very cool. And I really liked it when they're like, oh, I got something to show you. And all the boys run, and they're like, Phoebe's like, don't be chicken shit. Just come on.
Guys, don't be such chicken shit. It's so funny.
So yeah, that's very cool. So
I don't know if you noticed, but there were armadillos at Dracula's castle at the very beginning.
Yes.
That is another reference to Dracula from 1931, where they were seen.
Well, I think one of the brides was actually eating them when Van Helsing came into the castle.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah.
So armadillos are indigenous to the Americas. So while their appearance in a Transylvanian castle was seen as a goof in the earlier film, they were meant as an homage in this one. And I think I had read somewhere that the reason they used armadillos was because it was easier to deal with than rats, or they couldn't get rats or something like that.
That makes
to be at the
sense.
castle, so they pretended those were rats, something like that, I think. So I just thought that was fun that they did on purpose in this one to do another
Realistically,
homage.
I wouldn't want to deal with the rats. I'd much rather deal with the armadillos.
Probably. Yeah, realistically. So we have some special effects and stunts to share with you. The scene where Dracula lifts Phoebe up and screams was done in one take, and they do talk about this in the documentary. Duncan wouldn't wear his red contacts or fangs around the 5-year-old Ashley because it scared her too much. So for this scene, the director just told Ashley to scream once the platform raised her. She asked when, and Decker told her, "Oh, you'll know," and proceeded to shoot. The terrified scream you hear when Dracula opens his eyes, and he doesn't just open his eyes, he hisses at her, which she talks about. She very clearly remembers this. So that scream is genuine. So Ashley is really like freaking out.
So there was a platform, so he didn't actually lift her up.
No, it lifted her up. And so that's what they were saying. Like, the platform's going to lift you up, and then you're going to need to scream. And she's like, okay, like, what's the cue, basically? And you'll figure it out.
I don't think the Phoebe acts anymore. I think she has a real job.
No, I didn't get the impression that she's an actor any longer.
Yeah, me too.
In addition to sculpting the Frankenstein's monster makeup, Tom Woodruff Jr. played the role of the Gilman. So that's like the swamp monster. It was his debut as a suit performer, a skill he has perfected in the 20 years since, performing in creature suits for dozens of films. And he said, on my own time, I had the guys do a body cast of me because I'd planned on building my own personal gorilla suit, which is something I always wanted to do. So this body cast was just sitting there in the shop, and the Monster Squad came up, and the part of the Gilman hadn't been cast. I distinctly remember sitting in Stan's shop, pointing to that body cast that was there and ready to go, and saying, "Stan, I can do this. Let me play the Gilman." I really pitched myself, which wasn't and still isn't something I'm comfortable doing, but he considered it, and then he let me do it. The other guys started building that Gilman creature suit over my life cast, and I got to play that character in the Monster Squad.
Speaking of Stan, he's going to be at Spookala. No, I'm sorry. He's going to be at Spooky Empire. My fault. In October.
He's going to be at Spooky Empire?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
I don't think I realized that. Well, that's cool.
They announced that today.
Oh, well, I missed it because I've been working all day. So that's why I didn't see it. I did see Matthew Lillard is coming to Spookala.
So you got
at the beginning of October.
I wonder if Nev Campbell's going to be
I'm waiting now.
For them to
okay, I know this is like off topic already, but I'm waiting on it because we've already got Skeets. Now we have Matthew, we have the original stuntman.
Yeah.
And we have Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah.
Who, come on.
I'm waiting for her to be like,
waiting for them to be like,
by the way, we got Nev Campbell.
So we also have Nev coming, you guys. Everyone is already freaking the fuck out. Like, when they announced the stuntman, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember his name, but when they announced him, a lot of Scream fans were like, oh my God, this is great, whatever. And they announced Skeet, and then they're just like, oh my God, that's so great. And, Jamie Kennedy, and then it's just like, oh, we're getting like a mini reunion. So I feel like Spookala is just like building it up.
Do you think they will do the Fonz too? Henry Winkler?
Oh my God, I hope Henry Winkler is there. He was so nice.
Super cool to do.
Oh, everybody has said, like, I haven't heard anyone complain about any of the Scream actors, but I know in particular, like Henry Winkler, everyone has just been like, he is like super nice.
Yeah.
So I hope that they're all there. That would be very cool.
I could see him walking around and being like, hey, what's up?
I really could. I just want to meet Matthew Lillard and be like, please be in the next Scream movie, please.
You can pitch your idea to him.
Please. He probably doesn't need it pitched because there's like a good 50% of us at least out there who are like, why are you not the killer yet in these movies?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I love all the Scream actors, but probably Stu is like one of my favorites, just because there's so much mystery with his death and all of that.
Again, we will be at different horror cons and different things.
Yeah, Spookala and Spooky Empire,
and 90s Con. Well,
I don't know.
I will be at 90s Con.
I don't
Sammy
know if I
will
can
not
go.
be.
I probably cannot.
But if you want to come meet me, you can. But we are definitely off track, so we'll get back to the Monster Squad.
This happens all the time at the Pixie Dust Twins, so it's cool.
So what did you actually think of the movie? Like Monster Squad?
Well, It's a fun movie.
Like you can, it's a
Honestly.
movie that you can watch with the whole family, and there's no
I mean,
there's no parts in it you're just like, oh, I need to turn my head.
there's like kids being kids in it, you know,
Right.
with the way that they're messing with each other. But yeah, I feel like, especially with it being like PG-13,
Right.
I think you could have younger kids watch it and it's not that big a deal, honestly, unless they're afraid of like scary Dracula.
The only cast member I would have cut is Eugene,
Robby
and the
cannot
reason
stand
why
Eugene.
is he just doesn't make sense.
He doesn't do anything.
He like the part when the mummy comes into his room and he runs out and tells his dad, and he's like, oh, come in, and he's like, where's this big scary monster? If his dad would have looked in the closet, he would
That
have been
part's
like,
pretty funny though. The way that he makes a big deal
the
out of it.
kid wouldn't have been crazy.
And then he opens the door and then he stands there and makes a big deal out of it, and the mummy's just like
chilling in there.
That's pretty funny. But yeah, I guess they technically could have done it at one of the other kids' houses.
And then when they're in their clubhouse, and he's like, mummy came in my house. He doesn't explain it. He just says that.
Nobody even acknowledges that he spoke.
And exactly. They're probably like, what the fuck?
He's there as like an added comic relief, but I feel like a lot of the kids already were like funny.
Right.
So yeah, you probably are right. You probably didn't
I
really
feel like
need Eugene.
You didn't really need it. I mean,
Yeah.
they talked about him in the documentary, but honestly, I felt like his character probably could have gotten cut.
I mean, yeah, you
and
had
not lost anything from the overall movie.
The 3 older kids, and then Rudy, and then Phoebe, I think would have been a good well-rounded.
Rudy is one of my favorite characters.
I really enjoy Rudy too.
Like when fat kid is getting beat up, and he rides up and he's like, "Hey EJ, I understand you met my friend Horace. You dropped your candy bar, EJ." He's like, "No, it's not mine. It's his. It's yours now.
It's yours now."
So he makes him eat.
Yeah.
And then Rudy's kind of like, have you ever seen 10 Things I Hate About You? The guy in there, they're like, oh, he wasn't sure if he had a liver or not. That's kind of where Rudy is, because
like
they
you're
were
talking
like
about Heath Ledger's character.
Yeah, like they were like, I heard he killed his dad, or does he go to school or not go to school?
Yeah, I like those kind of characters where it's like they're the cool kid,
right?
But they don't adhere to any sort of rules. Like they're friends with who they like, and it's even if the kids are losers or weird, it doesn't bother them. They do their own thing, and that makes them even cooler because they really don't care what anybody thinks about them. So yeah, I really liked the Rudy character too, and that's probably why.
Absolutely. And then when they're driving to the center of town, he takes the mummy's thing and shoots the bow and arrow. And I like how Sean's like, Rudy, why don't you get silver bullets?
I think I put that in as one of my favorite quotes.
And he's like, where am I going to get silver bullets at?
Yeah.
So
they figured, Kmart.
Yeah, go to Kmart. This is when Kmart was popular.
Before it
went out of business. They're like, oh, go to Kmart. But they melted down some of the fine china. I'm sure his mom was like, what? What is going on here?
Yep.
So, but yeah, I think Rudy added a lot to the plot and made it keep going.
I really like Rudy a lot. He probably is my favorite character.
Him and Sean. I mean, a lot of the mother end up after the movie acting in Lethal Weapon. She was in Lethal Weapon. She's been in television. The father was in I want to say he did a lot of television shows too. So
yeah,
I think those two got some success out of doing this, even though this hurt the director.
Which is unfair, but
yeah, I hope the director is still working. Because I didn't think this was now that there's a cult following, I hope that they'll trust him to do another picture.
I didn't get the idea he was out of the business. I think he just said he struggled for a little bit after.
Right.
Yeah.
Because studios don't like to lose money. But what was your favorite part of the movie?
I really like Phoebe, and when she brings out Frankenstein's monster, that scene's really funny.
And they're like, don't be chicken shit.
Yeah, when she's like, guys, don't be chicken shit. That's pretty funny. And then when he knocks, we said when he knocks Sean down.
Over.
And then I have it in quotes, but there's that bit when they get to the church and they're like, oh, we're stuck out here. And, Phoebe's like looking and, hey, guys, or something.
Hey, guys, they're here.
And they look and they got the brides, right, coming down looking all creepy. And then Rudy just kind of takes off. And then, they're like, Rudy, where are you going? And then he's got like the cigarette and he pulls out his crossbow and he says, I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I? And I'm just like, this is great. I love this.
That is one of my favorite scenes. That's like a pivotal scene in this movie.
The way he says it is so smooth.
He's just waiting for them to come. And he's just like, boop.
Yeah, he just says it so coolly and so smoothly and just gets out the crossbow and then just goes at him.
He shot one and then he hesitated on the last one, so he had to pull out the stake to get him.
Yeah.
But for a minute there, you worry about Rudy, like, oh my goodness, is something going to happen?
Yeah.
And then when the Wolfman shows up, all the police are shooting at him and he takes the police gun and he loads the silver bullet in and he goes bang.
Yeah, the silver bullets that he made, by the way.
Right. From the fine china. And then Sean and his dad are walking out and he's like, I told you, there's only one way to kill a werewolf.
And they tried to say, like, oh, hit by, whatever are they saying, hit by a car.
Falling onto a bomb.
Yeah, like all sorts of stupid shit. And guess what? No.
Rudy was right.
There's one way to kill a werewolf.
Rudy was right. And he does have Nards. I think another good scene is when they're Fat Kid and Sean and everybody is in Dracula's house and they have Dracula come in, the brides and Wolfman, and they're like, haven't you ever seen the Hardy Boys? You pull a lever and then they actually get
the statue.
And then they get the amulet. That's like an intense scene. You're like, oh my goodness, what's gonna go on? What's gonna happen? So
yeah, that's another one.
That's a really great scene.
And I just like, even though I'm sure it was traumatizing for the actress, but I do like when Dracula right at the end is trying to get the amulet and stop Phoebe, and when his face is all lit up green and he's hissing at her, I really liked that bit. It was so scary. And then 2 seconds later, what do you have? You have Frankenstein's monster who comes up and then turns him around and then he does that bogus. Oh, that's really a lot of fun too. And they were talking about that on the documentary, how the actor smiled when he said the line as Frankenstein's monster, and the director's like, no, you can't smile during this. This is very serious. And he's just like, I'm gonna play this with a smile. And we liked the smile. I thought it was good.
I thought, this is his revenge. The director or the producer of it were like, you can't smile. I mean, if I'm getting revenge on somebody, I'm gonna smile.
Yeah, and I just thought it fit the character, so I didn't have a problem with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, but overall, I think it's a great movie from start to finish. I saw it when I was a kid, and I just kind of liked it from there.
Yeah.
And then I introduced you to it.
Yes.
So.
But this is the type of movie I probably would have watched, but I don't imagine it was rerun a whole lot because, the studio didn't think it was a moneymaker. Because I watched like Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, which I would love to rewatch. Are You Afraid of the Dark, the original version?
Yeah.
And talk about it and see how I feel about it, because there are definitely things from that still haunt my brain.
Yeah.
From that show, but I would love to watch it as an adult.
Yeah.
And then talk about it too. So I think that's something we should definitely do, because.
So your first time watching Monster Squad, did you find it scary at all, or did you find parts of it scary? Or
I mean, not scary like I'm gonna have nightmares. Like I feel like if I was a little kid, I would have definitely been afraid of the Dracula.
Yeah.
Because he was scary. But I would have loved Frankenstein's monster just like I do now. And I mean, the Mummy is scary, but
it didn't really do much.
He's not horrible.
He was there for nostalgia purposes.
It's like I probably part of it too is because I always loved the Disney Channel movie Under Wraps, which had a whole mummy on there, and he was a friendly mummy. So I don't think they freak me out as much because I'm like, oh, it's like Under Wraps again. Not because this mummy was mean, but similar. But yeah, so definitely some scary bits, but I don't think like the swamp monster would have overly scared me or anything. And the Wolfman, he was kind of scary, but it also was funny in the way that he kept trying to tell everyone he was a werewolf. Could you please lock me up? And no one wanted to listen, so he made that whole big scene at the police station, and still didn't work.
And then they ended up blowing him away, and then still didn't kill him.
Not really. Yeah.
So
poor ambulance driver, though.
Yeah, he got that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the saddest part of that is when they're at their final battle, and then everybody's getting sucked into the whirlpool.
Oh,
and then Frankenstein and Phoebe are like, "Don't go, don't go."
She's just like, "No, you don't go," and he's like, "Bye."
And he throws the bear. She throws the bear.
It's a dog, I know it's a dog because I may have it still somewhere, but I had like the exact same little stuffed dog when I was little. His name was Max.
Okay.
By the way, I still remember. But I had the same, like, it looked exactly the same, and it would make sense around this time frame because we're like, close in age for that. So yeah, it was a stuffed doggy.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
So overall, I would give this a higher score than that. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. So that's my vote. I
would agree. Like 8 or 9 out of 10, I think is fair. And one thing we didn't mention, the actor Brent Chalem, who played Horace, aka Fat Kid, he died of pneumonia in 1997. Right. So that's just something that really sucks.
Yeah.
Especially since the movie has gained so much traction with our age millennials. You know, maybe Gen X, maybe a little bit, but I have a feeling it's probably a lot of millennials who are really into this.
Who dies of a pneumonia?
That's a thing. You can definitely die from pneumonia. I did not know that. Yeah, you can definitely die from that. So I could definitely see that. And then Mary Ellen Trainor, who's the mother of the lead siblings, so Sean and Phoebe. She's also the mother in The Goonies, if you remember.
Oh, she is. That's right. I forgot.
So I just wanted to point that out too. She's also in The Goonies, another classic movie from the 80s.
And she was a therapist in Lethal Weapon, and those were in the 80s too.
Yeah, big 80s star.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just wanted to mention that too. And then I know we were doing some quotes. I don't know if we missed. Well, I
gotta tell you one more part about the scary German guy. It's your last chance for pie.
I'm gonna say we have not done the line that I have heard constantly for years.
That's like
over
when they're
over.
Like, who are we gonna? They have Van Helsing's book, and they're like, who else are we gonna get to read this? And he was like, time is almost. Goes into the house and like, time is almost up. It's your last chance for pie.
And I love how when they're talking about it too, they're just like, "What's German for? Please don't murder me." And then he walks up and says.
I think that's pretty funny.
I always love that bit too. And the actor actually that plays Scary German Guy is Italian, by the way.
I knew that.
I did not until I was looking this up.
So like when they meet him outside of Dracula's house when they're running and they got the amulet, Scary German Guy's like, maybe we should all go back to my place for some pie. He throws that out there.
Yeah.
And they're like, no time for that. So.
And then what else do you always say? Well, I think you already did at the beginning. Wolfman
has nards.
Wolfman's got nards. And then there's that scene with EJ and towards the end when he sees Horace again and he says Horace. Yeah, hey fat kid, good job. And then
that was his moment. That was his moment. Every kid wishes he has, and he had it in the movie.
And then the other fun line from Horace is Scary German Guy is bitchin'. Yeah. That's always a fun one too. But I like Rudy's. That's why I had to bring that up. I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I?
I think that part is so super
I love
cool.
that. Yeah. But I love Scary German Guy. And there's a whole thing too. And they do talk about this in the documentary, but when they're talking to Scary German Guy, you know, there's so much like fun and lighthearted stuff in this movie. And, you know, obviously it's sad when Frankenstein's monster has to leave. But when they're talking to Scary German Guy and then they're leaving and they make a comment to him and they're just like, oh, you must know a lot of real monsters or something like that. And then he's like, I do. And then you see like the
Holocaust.
Yeah, the concentration camp number on his arm. It's like shit got like real, you know?
Yeah.
You're just like, oh damn, like he's really been through some stuff and he's so kind to these kids. And I thought that was an interesting touch into the movie too, because especially with this being in the 80s, you know, it wasn't that long ago that would have all went down. So Yeah. But yeah, overall, would watch
Great
this movie repeatedly. It's a lot of fun, no
lot of
matter
fun.
what time of year. And
If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out.
highly recommended.
I'm sure it's on streaming somewhere.
I don't.
Or you have to rent it from
You might have to rent it because I think I started to
Apple.
look, but we have it, on DVD or whatever it was, Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, we'll just watch it on there. But I think you may have to rent this movie. I'm not 100% sure, but it's got to be out there someplace. If not, just go buy it. It can't be that expensive at this point.
It's a great movie to have in your collection.
Yeah. So in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about Lost Boys.
Yes.
The first one.
The first one, yes.
Yeah, we're going to do that. And then, I don't know.
And we'll figure it out.
What's coming up to that? We'll have to see what we're in the mood for. But yeah.
If you guys have any suggestions or movies you want us to cover, let us know.
Yeah.
Is that it? Are you done?
I mean, do you have anything else you wanted to add or talk about?
No, I'm pretty much set.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm good. Like we said, it's just highly recommended, this movie.
Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in. Again, this is one of our favorite movies. Please like, subscribe, and share our content with others so they can check it out.
Yes.
And some of you will see you at Spooky Empire and Spookala.
Yeah, that's in October, so you'll hear us talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
Sorry if it's annoying, but every time they have new announcements and whatnot, we'll definitely be chatting about that and letting you know for sure. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
You Can't Kill the Boogeyman podcast is produced and hosted by Robby and Sammi Brooksby as part of the Limitless Broadcasting Podcast Network. Post-production and intro by Sammi Brooksby. Follow the show on Instagram at BoogeymanPod. You can also follow the Limitless Broadcasting Company at Limitless Broadcasting and your horror hosts at Robert 1950 Studios and at The Samalam. We also have a TikTok at 1950 Studios. Email your creepy comments and spooky suggestions to us at boogeymanpod@gmail.com. Don't forget, everyone is entitled to one good scare. Have a horrific week.